Hello, my dear friends. There's a tremendous question on this week's Parsha. Yitzchak wants to give the bracha to Esav. Rivka finds out about that, and Rivka knows that Esav's a Rasha. Yaakov thinks she's a tzaddik, and she decides the bracha should go to Yaakov. And she tells Yaakov, while Esav's away hunting and bringing food back for his father, I'll give you food to instead. I'll prepare it for your father, and you'll wear special clothing that you'll feel like Esav would be hairy, and you tell your father that you're Esav. And Yaakov does that, and through this subterfuge, Yaakov gives the bracha to Yitzchak gives the bracha to Yaakov. So the question is that Rivka is one of the matriarchs. How could she engage in such a subterfuge? And it's so unethical and immoral to deceive her husband and to tell her son to lie and be part of this trickery. So the Ramban gives a classical answer. The Ramban says that Rivka knew through prophecy that this was the will of Hashem, that Yaakov should receive the bracha, because when she was pregnant, she was having the pregnancy. The two fetuses were turmoiling in her embryo, in the embryonic state, and she went. She went to seek divine advice from a Navi, from Shane, and Shane told her, there's two nations will emerge from your womb, and V'rav Yavad Tzadir, the older one will be subservient to the younger one. So she knew that Yitzchak, that Esav had to be subservient to Yaakov. And if the bracha would have gone to Esav, then it would be irreversible, and then Yaakov would be subservient. And so she wanted to do the will of Hashem. So in order to make sure that the prophecy would be properly fulfilled, so she took it upon herself to arrange this whole subterfuge behind the back of Yitzchak. Why didn't she tell Yitzchak that the Ramban asked? Why didn't she tell Yitzchak that she had this prophecy? So the Ramban says because she did not tell Yitzchak originally that she was going to shame to understand why the pregnancy was so difficult, and therefore afterwards she felt embarrassed, and it would be inappropriate for her to reveal that to her husband, that she went behind his back, and that's why she had to arrange the brachos as she did. So I have that's the Ramban says, but I have another question, and that is that okay, it was the will of Hashem. Rivka was making sure that the prophecy was fulfilled. So it was that's what God wanted. So the question is, why did God want it to come about this way? Why couldn't God why couldn't God appear to Yitzchak in a prophecy and tell Yitzchak, don't give the bracha to Esav? Yitzchak was a prophet. Give the bracha to Yaakov. Instead, God allowed all this whole thing to unfold, and Rivka was trapped, so to speak. She had no choice. She had to arrange for the bracha to be fulfilled, so she went and she had to have this whole subterfuge. Why did God want it to happen that way? And especially Yaakov is the Isha Emes, Titan Emes Yaakov. Yaakov was the extreme of truth. That was the special quality of Yaakov, that he was a man of great integrity. And Chazal said that when he told his father that he's Esav, he was crying. Why was he put into that position? Why didn't? And it's the wrong way for a bracha to be given. It should be out in the open. It seems so the whole bracha seems like such a deception. It should be. Yitzchak should know that the Yaakov deserves the bracha, and it should be straight out. It should go to Yaakov. So, I once said an answer many years ago. The Vilna Gaon says, he asked a similar question, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Avraham, there were 10 tests. The last test was he told him to sacrifice his son Yitzchak on the Mizbeach, the Yakedah. So, that was the pinnacle of the test that Avraham had to endure. So the Vilna Gaon asked, Avram was a man of chesed. Why didn't God test Avram in chesed? He could have given him the need to raise $10 million to build a hospital or something of that sort. And Avram would spend 10 years raising the money or whatever. Why instead did he force Avram to almost engage in an act of extreme cruelty? It was the exact antithesis of what Avram's whole life was about. He preached chesed. Avram's midah was chesed, kindness. And here HaKadosh Baruch Hu was forcing Avram he took the knife and he held it over his son's in the neck, about to slaughter his son. Why was he put into that position? So the Vilna Gaon says, because if Avram would have been tested in Chesed, it wouldn't have been such a big nisayon. It wouldn't be a big test, because that Avram, even if it would have been, he would have to spend 50 years trying to do a Chesed. He would be willing to do it joyfully, happily. So, but the test here was to see if Avram would be willing to if God tells him to do the antithesis of Chesed, to be of extreme cruelty, to sacrifice his son, and Avram would be willing to do it. That was the test, and Avram had to struggle with himself. That's why that was the last of the 10 nisyonos. So I said, by the same token, Yaakov was being tested. This when Yaakov came to his father and he said, "Anochi Esav v'charecha," I'm Esav. That was a test to see Yaakov was so committed to emes. So for Yaakov to have to tell a tremendous lie and acquire the brachos in that way was enormously difficult for Yaakov. So it was in the Soyan to see if Yaakov would be willing to do the will of Hashem under these circumstances. I have now another thought that I want to share, and that is that in Torah there's always priorities. There's often conflicting elements in a situation. So, for example, there's a principle of aseh dochel oseh. If you have a positive mitzvah to do and a negative mitzvah, you have a mitzvah of tzitzis, and you have a mitzvah, you're not supposed to wear kolayim, wool and linen. Let's say the only way you can wear tzitzis is by wearing wool and linen. So we say that the mitzvah of tzitzis overrides. That's the principle of aseh dochel oseh. The aseh comes before oseh. There's all sorts of rules in halacha, which things take priority. So, emes, Yaakov was the Isha emes. He was committed to emes. So you might say that emes is such an important quality. And emes, when you're truthful, you're emulating Kadosh Baruch Hu. God is the God of truth. Hashem Elokeichem emes. We say every day in davening, the end of Kriya Shema. God is the God of emes. He's the quintessence of emes. So you might say that when it comes to emes, nothing overrides emes. So, but the fact is that Chazal say that that's not true. There are things that trump even emes. Is trumped by different things. So, for example, the Gemara says, "Mitzvah l'shanas mibnei Hashem." There's a mitzvah to be deceptive in order to bring about peace. For example, the Chazal bring various proofs. One of the proofs is that when the angel came to Avram and told him he was going to have a child, so Sarah overheard and she started laughing. She said, "It's impossible. My husband is old." And then the angel said to Avram, "Why did Sarah laugh? And why did she say, I'm old?" So she didn't say I'm old, she said he's old. So the Chazal say that the angel lied because of Shalom, in order that Avram should not be angry at Sarah. Why is she talking about me that way? Why is she telling the angel that I'm old? I'm an old man. So in Shalom, Chazal say Shalom trumps emes. Shalom is a more important priority than emes. In order that there should be shalom, you're allowed to be deceptive. Another example is Aaron HaKohen. Aaron was an Ohev Shalom, Roider Shalom. Aaron pursued peace. So when two people had a machlokas, Chazal say, what did he do? How did he make peace between them? So he would go to each party, and it was a subterfuge. He would tell each party, the other fellow, I know he insulted you, but he feels terrible. He's so sorry. He apologizes. He's shattered. His heart is torn. He so much wants to make up with you. And then he would go to the other person, tell him the exact same story. Neither story was true. But the two people, each one heard the other one feels so badly. So they made up and they became friends again. So how could Aaron do that? Because shalom trumps emes. And therefore, perhaps, and there's many more examples in Chazal. So therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was concerned that when it comes to emes, people who because it's a moral principle of being truthful, that it's easy to take emes to an extreme. And therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to teach Yaakov that emes, sometimes you have to compromise even on emes. And even though you're an Isha emes, but there are things that trump emes. So if God wants you to lie, then you have to be willing to lie. And it was a lesson that there are other instances where even though emes is so important, but there are things that trump emes, and it's easy for a person to get carried away with emes and say, I have to be truthful, and it's the principle of the matter. I hear this phrase from so many people so many times. It's the principle of the matter, principle of the matter. And I've always said, with the principles, people could destroy the world. There are people that there's something they about a person that say they're a supervisor in business, and somebody that's working for them does something wrong, and it's a minor offense, but they decide he's got to get fired because the principle of the matter. I spoke to somebody recently. They're engaged in the Din Torah, and the Din Torah has been going on for the last 2 years, and it's costing a fortune, and it's eating their kishkas out, and it's creating a big fight. So I said, so how much money are you trying to win in this Din Torah? It's a very small amount. So I said, so why don't you drop it? So I said, it's the principle of the matter. It's again the same thing. So it's foolish, and it's wrong. With the principle of the matter, you could destroy the world. You could destroy people. You could destroy livelihoods. You could take away people's mental health. There's so many times that people are engaged in situations where because of emes, it's destructive. The Gemara says, Yerushalayim was destroyed because the people, when they went to Dinei Torah, in the Din Torah, there's a concept. You could either have a Din Torah, could be din, it could be the letter of the law, the judges could rule, or you could tell the judge, we want you to make a pshara, we want you to make a compromise. So they didn't want to make compromises in the time of the Beis HaMikdash. They want everything to be the letter of the law. Because of that, the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, because you can't have the letter of the law all the time. In fact, the Gemara said, in the beginning of Parashas, the Chumash first refers to HaKadosh Baruch Hu as Parashas Bar Elokim. Elokim is the quality of God as being emes, of being a judge. And in the second parak, it says Hashem Elokim. Hashem is the midah of chesed, of compassion. So it combines the two. It's Hashem Elokim. So Chazal say, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu originally wanted to create the world with emes, with din, with judgment, but he saw it wouldn't work. So he shitif him midas harachmim. He combined with din, chesed. You need both together. You can't have chesed without din. It's too extreme. Even for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's too extreme. So therefore, what I would suggest is that that's the reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted Yaakov to know that even though that's why he arranged that it had to be a subterfuge, because it would have been, there was a danger that Yaakov would get carried away with emes, and therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted Yaakov to know that there are certain things that trump even emes. There's certain things that are of greater importance. Another tremendous example of this, things that trump emes, is the Gemara says in Ksuvas, how do you dance in front of a kala? What it means? What do you say in front of a kala? So Hillel says kala nava chasuda. You praise the kala. You say she's beautiful. And Shammai says, well, let's say it's not true. You can't. How can you say what's not true? Midvar sheker tirkot. The Torah says you have to run away from falsehood. You have to distance yourself from falsehood. So how could you say that she's beautiful when she's a plain Jane? So Hill says, yeah, well, according to you, if somebody buys something, he goes shopping and he buys a new suit. What are you supposed to? And you think that he bought it's a terrible fit. Doesn't look right on him. The colors are no good. Do you tell him the truth, or do you tell him that you bought a nice suit? You praise it or you denigrate? Hill says you have to praise it. Why? Because people's feelings are more important than being truthful. And therefore, when it comes to the kala, you don't tell the chassan, I offer my condolences to you that you married such a girl. You say, she's the most beautiful girl in the world, the most beautiful woman in the world. Because certain things are more important than being honest. So in the Rishonim it says, in the Shita Mechubetz, it quotes the Rishonim that say, some of the early commentators, they say that you're allowed to praise a person. If a person is depressed, you're allowed to give the person encouragement. You're allowed to build the person up. You're allowed to tell them, you're such a wonderful person. You're doing great. You're terrific. You're fantastic. Everybody loves you. Even if it's not true. That's what you learn from this Gemara of Hillel and Shammai. that you tell the chassan the kal is beautiful. If somebody needs encouragement, you build the person up. My father was outstanding. My father, Zichrono Baruch, was outstanding in giving compliments. And in particular, he complimented his children, my brother, my sister, myself. My father used to compliment me so much. I knew, I felt, Daddy, sometimes he said to me, Daddy, you're exaggerating. It didn't matter to my father. My father understood that self-esteem, it comes to a person from a parent, and a parent has to build up the child, and even if it means exaggerating. You tell it over and over again, it has an impression. I know people, I've heard this from many people, they never got a compliment from their parent. You don't have, when it comes to human relations, you don't have to be brutally honest. You could tell a person that you build the person up, make the person feel good. I remember when I had a friend that when we first got married, he invited me to eat a supper at his house. So I came for supper, and his wife, newly married, it was like 2 days after the Shabbat Brachos, his wife made soup, so he takes a sip of the soup, and it was so salty, he almost choked, and he said, who put the salt in this soup? And then he realized, he's a chassan, he just got married, he's going to destroy his marriage. He says, oh, but I love it, you put so much salt in, this is my favorite, how did you know? That he didn't think about the fact that midvar sheker tirchuk. He would have destroyed his marriage with midvar sheker tirchuk. That you're not allowed to tell a lie. He told his wife the soup is delicious. Person has to know everything has to be balanced in life, and nothing can be. When things, the Rambam says that shvil I'm sorry, the middle of the road is the golden path. Don't take things too extreme. Okay, everything, there's halachas, that everything has halachas. There's certain times you're allowed to say lashon hara when it's for tevilas. You have to make sure that you're not abusing this principle. That you whenever it's important, you're going to go and change things and fabricate and say lashon hara. There are rules, but it's an important principle, and this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was teaching Avraham Avinu. Thank you for listening. Have a good Shabbos.